everybody, and welcome to this Pepsi Blue collection history ASMR, where I'm going to tell you everything about Pepsi Blue and show you my very huge collection of Pepsi Blue things, starting from the very beginning up until today, or the past few years. Now, the collection I do have, and I will be showing you in this video, is probably one of the largest Pepsi Blue collections in the entire world. And what do I mean by that is the variety. There are so many releases and so much lore about Pepsi Blue that it's mind-boggling. Some may see it as a Pepsi flavor that was out in the early 2000s that was kind of cringe or whatever, because back then it was driven to be put towards teenagers. Teenagers were the demographic that Pepsi was trying to win over with this. So what I am showing you right here before we move on to the other pieces is from the very first release of Pepsi Blue. Now right here it's a big guy. I gotta make sure to hold this while I show you this. This is a 1 liter bottle of Pepsi Blue. I have a couple of these. This is one of them. And I'll just lay that down. Here is a 12-pack box of Pepsi Blue cans. I'll show you the side there. There you go. It expired July 14th, 2003. Now, before we get any further, I do want to tell you what Pepsi Blue actually was. As it's described on the bottle, it was a berry cola fusion. So it was a berry flavored cola. And people automatically were put off by the vibrant blue color. So people compared this to looking like Windex. That was the big joke. Oh, Windex is blue and this drink is blue. Man, it took a lot of brain cells to make that correlation and that joke come to life. But the coloring agent in this, which is Blue 1, was highly controversial at the time because people wanted to link it to cancer. Now, there are a lot of things that could be linked to cancer, but it's funny enough that still to this day, if you look at a lot of sodas and just drink products and products in general, Blue 1 is still to this day being put in so many products. And Pepsi Blue, sadly, was just the poster child for Blue 1 for some reason. Probably because it was so blue and it stood out, and so it was an easy target. But if you look at a lot of other things that have Blue 1 in it that aren't so blue upon visual, you wouldn't know. But regardless, that was one thing. Now, the reason why Pepsi Blue was even made in the first place was back in 2001. Mountain Dew put out a flavor called Code Red, which was a cherry red looking Mountain Dew, and that took off. That became such a huge success that Pepsi was looking into what they could do for their flagship brand, Pepsi. So, red Mountain Dew, blue Pepsi. There's a lot more behind the scenes that happened during the time and why they chose that, but that was the main factor. Is people want these sodas that stand out with big bright colors, so they thought of cherry, okay, berry, Pepsi, cherry, Mountain Dew. So the very, very early versions of Pepsi Blue didn't look like this. There was a prototype bottle made which I will show you right here. Compliments of collecting soda on Instagram. That dude has amazing bottles and cans, just a huge collection. He's awesome. So there is a prototype bottle that was only like given out to people that worked at Pepsi, or people inside PepsiCo would test the bottle there. But they decided to go with a more extreme look when it went into full-on production with this very edgy kind of look. So when Pepsi Blue went on the market in August of 2002, it sold quite well, but it had millions of dollars in advertising pushed behind it to get people's eyeballs on it and to get them to buy it. Now, I remember hearing about this soda through rumblings back when I was 16, and I remember my dad flagging down a guy that worked for Pepsi when he was pumping gas into the van. And I remember just sitting inside the van, and I overheard him talking to the guy from Pepsi, saying, "What does that Pepsi Blue taste like?" And the guy from Pepsi was like, "Oh, well, you know, if you've ever had like a blue raspberry snow cone, yeah, it's like the syrup in that, but just like, you know, carbonated like a soda." And my dad was sold, because my dad loves blue raspberry stuff. Me, not so much, so I was kind of skeptical on it. But when I finally was able to get my hand on a bottle of Pepsi Blue for the first time, that late summer 2002, that first crack, smelling the aroma of the Pepsi Blue, there is no other smell like it. I could still kind of replicate it with one of the later releases, but there's nothing like that fresh crack of Pepsi Blue. That smell, you get that smell, it just takes me right back to that summer. And I think that's why I am connected to Pepsi Blue and Crystal Pepsi so much, is because there's so much memories. It just takes me back to Crystal Pepsi, takes me back to my earliest childhood years, early 90s. Pepsi Blue takes me back to my mid-teens. And yeah, it's a lot of good times then. So anyways, Pepsi Blue lasted for almost 2 years, and it saw the same fate that Crystal Pepsi did, to where when it first came out, had a lot of money pushed in front of it to get sold and thrown in people's carts. But after a while, the hype died down and people just stopped buying it. It wasn't because it didn't taste like horrible. It was actually really good. I remember having Pepsi Blue quite a lot, sitting in the fridge. My dad would buy it, so it would always be in the fridge. But it just got discontinued by May of 2004, so not even 2 years of it being on the market. It wound up being discontinued, sadly. So as I showed you, I have the 1 liter. I have the 12-pack of cans, and there are the cans in here. They'll just spill out everywhere, so I will show you 1 can, so... There you go. That is what a Pepsi Blue can looks like from 2002. And here I have 2 20-ounce bottles of Pepsi Blue. And here is something completely awesome. This was a store display that may be sitting in the center and be like a centerpiece at like a truck stop or a gas station or something, or maybe even a grocery store. But this would sit here, and there would be a light right behind here. I don't know if I can lift this up, and I don't want to damage it. But there's a light, a bunch of lights actually right behind here. It doesn't work anymore. But it would light up and light up the Pepsi Blue. looks like on the side. And then on the back, you got a nice, crisp, clear image of Pepsi Blue. Right there. So this is all from the original release. And I do have more. Let me show you. They made Pepsi Blue hats with the ever so amazing little tribal tattoo on the back there, like so. Here is one of their kind of pixel looking people. This kind of looks like Kid Rock drinking some Pepsi Blues. And then you look on the back, there were more. Now these pixel people were featured on their website and on some early advertising, so they made a shirt based off of them. Very top of the back of the neck there, Berry Cola Fusion. The problem with these promo shirts is that they're always in either XL or XXL or something, so they're made for big people. Someone like me wearing the shirt, I'd just be swimming in it, and so that's why I don't wear them. Otherwise, I would wear them. Here's another shirt, Pepsi Blue, right there. Plain and simple, nothing new. This always falls off, don't worry about that. The seller that I bought this from off of eBay, it was all flattened in a box. I had to kind of resurrect it and bring it back to shape. And then this I got from a seller. Now this was supposed to have a t-shirt in it, but when I got it, it didn't have a t-shirt in it. And I talked to the guy about it. He said he was sorry. He was trying to find the t-shirt, but he couldn't find it. And he took a photo of the stuff that he did have in his soda collection. And that's where this sticker came into play. It's a holographic Pepsi Blue sticker that would be slapped onto the front of convenience store cooler doors and stuff like that. So it's kind of cool. I haven't seen anything like this on eBay or anything. So it's kind of neat to have. Neat. Jesus, I'm getting that old. I'm using neat. But anyways, what was in this box that came with it? We've got a Speedway kind of information thing about Pepsi Blue. Little poster there. A bottle of Pepsi Blue. And here are a bunch of stickers, Pepsi Blue stickers. So still pretty cool, even if I lost the t-shirt. And here is the craziest thing that I have, promotional-wise. It is a Pepsi Blue memo pad. You got something important to write down, make sure to write it on the Pepsi Blue memo pad. Right there at the bottom it says a new Berry Cola Fusion. It's the mix. So, pretty cool. Also, a Pepsi Blue collection isn't complete without Sev, the band. I have their basically major debut CD that has the song Same Old Song on there, which was featured on the Pepsi Blue commercial. And this is the Same Old Song single. So there are two versions of the song. There is the album version, and then there is the second one, which they call the Monk Remix, which you do hear on the Pepsi Blue commercial, where there are monks singing, I guess, at the beginning of the commercial. But anyways, that is all about the first initial release of Pepsi Blue. Now let's get on to the later releases. Also, how could I forget the big guy? This Pepsi Blue that was released during the Christmas time of 2003 or 2004. I haven't popped this open in a while to check the date, but something like that. But yeah, anyways, this is pretty cool because the label here is actually paper, so very delicate, and it came with a blue Santa hat as well on the back. Blue Xmas. So after Pepsi Blue was discontinued in the United States, it still saw success in Europe here and also in Asia, which is where these cans come from. So this can is from 2007, and so is this one, but this one is a little bit earlier, and this can comes from Hong Kong. So this is a Hong Kong release of Pepsi Blue, which is a limited edition release, it says right there. And this one I want to say is from Indonesia. So they called this Pepsi Blue Chilled Cola. But there was also releases in Vietnam. In the late 2000s, Pepsi Blue was available in the Philippines under Pepsi Pinas, P-I-N-A-S. Still haven't been able to flag down a bottle of that. But here is a bottle of Pepsi Blue from Indonesia. This is from 2020, or at least has the expiration date of 2020. And this release of Pepsi Blue was blue in color, but not so much in berry flavor. It was just tasted like Pepsi, just blue colored. So not all Pepsi Blues are flavored the same. And then that brings us to the re-release of Pepsi Blue here in America in 2021. So in May of 2021, Pepsi Blue was re-released, and it had the American flag design on it to celebrate the 4th of July. So Pepsi saw this as their big summer release, and it was only out for a limited time until the end of the summertime. It was also released in Canada, but it didn't have the American flag label on it, obviously. There were some other sizes of bottles, but there were no cans released during this release, which was kind of a bummer because soda out of a fresh can, I feel, is far more refreshing. And then we had this as well during this re-release, just a smaller size bottle than the 20 ounce. I never found these bottles out in the wild. I had to buy this from a seller on eBay. I wanted to get every variation of the re-release, and I think these are these. Apologies, everybody. My cat decided to freak out and knock everything over. It happens. Cats. Gotta love them. Anyways, yeah, so I was saying this was never seen in the wild, at least to me, so I had to buy this from an eBay seller. It's pretty cool, and the only re-release thing that I don't have is a Canadian release, but I at least have both sizes. Anyways, that is not the end. So after 2021, the summer of 2021, Pepsi Blue still was being released elsewhere, especially in Latin America. So by the Christmas time of 2021, Pepsi Blue was released in Puerto Rico. So this is a Puerto Rican 2-liter bottle of Pepsi Blue. And as far as I know, this is the most recent release of Pepsi Blue, which was put in glass bottles, which is pretty awesome. This is a 2023 release in the Philippines and possibly Korea as well. So that is your history and a nice look at the collection of Pepsi Blue, ASMR style. I have plenty other videos about the full history and story of Pepsi Blue I'll put in the description below. Thank guys for watching. I am DJ Glowing Ice. Have a great rest of the day. Bye bye.